Welcome back to the deep dive. Today we're going into a topic that's, well, it's tough. We're talking about pediatric cancer.
It's a heavy subject for sure.
It is. But the reason we're doing this is because there's this incredible story of hope unfolding, really, driven by technology that is just fundamentally changing the fight.
That's right.
We're going to be talking about genomic intelligence,
Yeah.
specifically something called Next-Gen Sequencing, or NGS. It's about how we can get an immediate, super accurate blueprint of a child's tumor.
And that blueprint is everything.
It's everything. It's not just, interesting science. It's the critical intel that can change survival odds.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, let's unpack this.
Let's do it.
Our goal here, just to be clear, isn't to push anyone toward a medical choice. It's to lay out the facts, what the cutting-edge research is telling us, so you feel empowered with that knowledge.
Right.
Because knowing what tools are out there,
Right.
it could change everything. But ultimately, it's always your call.
And that idea of empowerment is really the key. We're looking at a technology that gives families a critical head start.
A head start against what are often, hidden risks.
Exactly. For doctors, NGS is basically the cheat code. It lets them fight back smarter and way, way sooner. It cuts out months of just guesswork. You deserve to know this exists.
Okay, so let's start right there with the cheat code idea.
Right.
Speed and accuracy. What is next-gen sequencing, really? I mean, how is it so different from the older tests?
Well, the contrast is it's stark. Historically, we had things like Sanger sequencing or targeted panels,
Okay.
and they were slow. They could only look at, say, one gene at a time. So if you weren't looking for a specific mutation, you missed it entirely.
I wouldn't even know it was there.
You'd have no idea. Next-gen sequencing maps the tumor's entire DNA all at once. It's massively parallel, meaning instead of reading genes one by one, it reads billions of DNA bits simultaneously. And that's what gives you the speed, and it's how you find these hidden variants that the old pests just flew right past.
And the timing. The sources really emphasize this. We're going from months to days. Why did it take so long before?
It was a combination of things. The old processes were just slow, very manual, but also you'd have to send samples out to special labs with huge backlogs.
Right, the logistics.
The logistics were a nightmare, and a doctor might have to run test A, wait a month, then get those results and decide to run test B. It just stretched everything out.
So NGS lets you do it all in one shot.
All in one go.
Yeah.
You're taking a timeline of 2, maybe 3 months and crushing it down to just a few days. And for these aggressive childhood cancers, days versus months, that can be everything.
Literally the difference between a treatment working or not.
Absolutely.
So it's incredibly fast, and the accuracy is, what, 90+% now?
Yeah, the reliability is extremely high.
And what's the actual procedure like for a child? Is it invasive?
Thankfully, no, not really. It usually just needs a small tumor biopsy sample, which is often taken during the initial diagnosis anyway.
Yeah.
And more, we can use a simple blood draw, a liquid biopsy, they call it, which is so much easier on the child.
And that gives you immediate, actionable intelligence.
That's the key phrase, actionable intelligence. You're not waiting for a treatment to fail before you switch gears. You're starting with the right plan.
You're cutting out that awful trial and error with chemotherapy.
Precisely. We're moving away from treating a cancer just based on where it is in the body, like, oh, it's a neuroblastoma.
Right.
Now we treat it based on its unique genomic signature, and that's where the real precision comes in.
Here's where it gets really interesting.
Yeah.
The sources kept saying that sequencing shines brightest in certain high-risk cases. Neuroblastoma came up again and again. Why that cancer in particular?
Neuroblastoma is what we call incredibly heterogeneous. Its behavior is almost entirely dictated by a few key genetic markers.
So without knowing those, you're flying blind.
Totally blind. NGS spots these mutations right away. And that tells you if you're dealing with a really aggressive tumor that needs a full-on attack, or maybe a low-risk one where you can be more cautious.
Can you give us an example? What are these markers you're looking for?
Sure. The big one is a gene called MYCN. If NGS finds an amplification of MYCN, that's a major danger sign.
Okay, so MYCN means bad news.
It means high risk. It's an oncogene that drives tumors to grow fast and resist therapy. Finding that early lets doctors go in with the strongest, most targeted treatments from day one. You don't waste that critical window.
And what about on the flip side? What if you find something else?
Well, conversely, you might find mutations in genes like ALK or ATRX.
And what do they tell you?
They might point to a completely different path. An ALK mutation could mean the child is a perfect candidate for a specific targeted drug that's way less toxic than standard chemo.
Wow.
Or it might even suggest the tumor is slow growing and the best path is actually watchful waiting, not an immediate harsh intervention.
And the impact that has on survival rates. I mean, that's what really stopped me.
It's massive. For those high-risk cases where the initial prognosis is just terrifying,
Yeah.
this intel lets you tailor the treatment perfectly from the start.
And that's what can bump the survival rates.
It can bump them dramatically. The data shows that for specific groups who get the right targeted treatment early, you can take a really scary survival stat and flip it. You could be looking at 80, maybe even 90% survival.
That's just a world of difference. And you said this isn't just for neuroblastoma?
Oh, no, not at all. It's huge across the board. We see it in acute leukemias, Wilms tumors, brain tumors like medulloblastoma.
So you're scanning the whole genome to find that one weak spot.
You're finding the driver mutation, the thing you can actually target with a drug. It just eliminates that whole period of guesswork.
I remember another example from the sources, TP53 and sarcomas. What's the story there?
Right. So TP53 is a vital tumor suppressor gene. Think of it as the brakes on cell growth.
Okay.
When it's mutated, the brakes are gone. The tumor can grow unchecked and often becomes resistant to a lot of standard drugs.
So finding that early is a huge red flag.
A critical red flag. It changes the entire treatment plan. It might mean you need high-dose chemo or that you should go straight to a stem cell transplant. It's a roadmap for fighting a really, really tough cancer.
It's just a level of personalization that was unimaginable before, which I think brings us to the next point. This goes beyond just treatment. Let's talk about prevention and reducing harm.
Yes. And this might be one of the most important parts of the story. The ability to avoid unnecessary toxicity.
The damage from the treatment itself.
Exactly. Chemo, and especially radiation, can be brutal on a child's developing body. The side effects can last a lifetime.
Right.
If the tumor's genomic profile shows it's low risk, or that it's unlikely to respond to radiation, NGS gives doctors the confidence to just skip it.
And do we know how many kids could be spared that?
The data is pretty powerful. Recent trials from the Children's Oncology Group suggest that using sequencing this way could spare up to 30% of children from the lifelong effects of radiation.
30%. That is a massive number.
It's a huge win for their quality of life for decades to come.
So let me ask, if the data is that clear, is NGS standard procedure everywhere now? Or do families still have to ask for it?
That's a critical question. And the answer is, it depends. At major pediatric cancer centers, yes, it's often standard for high-risk cases.
But not everywhere.
Not everywhere. In smaller hospitals, or depending on insurance, families often have to be really strong advocates. They have to know to ask.
So which means treatment is so much more likely to work.
Exactly. You're moving from crisis management to proactive care. Because NGS doesn't just look at the tumor, it can also look at the child's inherited or germline DNA.
And find these sneaky inherited risks.
Right. Things like genes linked to cyclic neutropenia or Fanconi genes, these can massively spike the odds of developing leukemia later on.
So you're spotting the risk before the cancer even whispers.
That's a great way to put it. You're spotting a predisposition. It's not a guarantee, but it allows for very close monitoring.
And this information, it's not just for the child being tested, is it?
No, it has implications for the whole family. The results go to a genetic counselor who can then map it out.
So you can see if it's running in the family tree.
Yes. They can flag carriers. Maybe a parent unknowingly has a BRCA-like variant that's tied to childhood cancers. That knowledge it's profoundly empowering. It gives families real agency over their health future.
It really changes the entire conversation. Which brings us to our last section here. So what does this all mean?
It's a lot to take in.
It is. It means we have tech that gives a diagnosis in days, not months. It means personalized care and uncovering risks for the whole family.
Yeah.
The biggest realization for me is that most people just don't know this is available. They don't know to ask for this crucial shortcut.
That's to keep coming back to the idea of parental choice.
Right.
Parents are in the driver's seat. They can opt in to know about inherited risks for peace of mind, or they can choose not to know if they want to avoid that emotional weight. And that's totally fine.
No judgment.
No judgment at all. But the clinical takeaway is rock solid. NGS gives doctors a huge head start. You're giving them the key to fight the cancer on its own terms.
So the single most important piece of advice from this deep dive really is advocacy.
Absolutely.
In a situation where you can feel so powerless, knowing this exists gives you power.
Yeah.
Don't wait.
Oh.
Ask your doctor about next-gen sequencing. on day one. Be ready to push for it. It's changing the standard of care, and you deserve access to the best tools there are.
That is the perfect call to action.
So that wraps up our deep dive. The speed, the precision, the personalization, it all comes down to the power of getting that intelligence early.
It does. And maybe here's a final thought to leave you with, building on that idea of inherited risk.
Okay.
When we think about how NGS can find these high-risk genes that run through a family like Fanconi or BRCA variants, you realize its deepest value might not just be treating the child who is sick right now.
You mean for the future?
For future generations in that family. So think about this. If the technology exists right now to see a major health risk before it ever shows up, how does that change what prevention even means for an entire family tree?
That's a heavy question.
It is. It moves us beyond just reacting to disease and into something more like proactive destiny management.